It had been 3 weeks since Jason left for his business trip in Tokyo. I missed him. I missed the way he used to wrap his arms around me before bed, the way his coffee always tasted better when he made it, and even the way he hummed out of tune while brushing his teeth. The silence of the house was deafening without him, despite the TV playing old sitcoms in the background just to fill the air. I tried to stay busy. I reorganized the pantry, rearranged the bedroom furniture, even repainted the guest room a soft, dusty rose. But even my obsessive cleaning couldn't scrub away the ache of feeling alone. We had been married for 5 years, and though our love had grown in many ways, his job had taken more of him lately than I liked to admit. It was late afternoon on a cloudy Tuesday when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Curious, I peeked through the side window. A tall man stood there in a gray delivery uniform, holding a medium-sized package. He had a hat pulled low over his eyes, but I could still make out a firm jawline, a tan neck, and hands that looked like they worked for a living, strong, rough, and steady. I opened the door halfway. "Hi," he said, flashing a charming smile. "Delivery for Elena Collins?" "That's me," I replied.
Great.
"Can I get a quick signature here?" I reached for the electronic pad, and as I signed, he glanced behind me. "Smells like cookies in there," he said with a grin. I laughed. Guilty. "Chocolate chip." "You bake often?" "Only when I miss someone." He tilted his head slightly. "That's someone lucky?" I shrugged with a smile. "He's in Tokyo. For work." He nodded slowly, as if absorbing that information. Then, something flickered in his eyes. Something gentle. Almost understanding. "I won't keep you," he said, handing me the package. "But if you have extra cookies and wouldn't mind sharing, I've been running routes all day and skipped lunch." It was such a simple request. Not flirtatious. Not inappropriate. Just honest. And maybe I had been craving connection more than I realized because I said yes. Inside, I placed the box on the counter and motioned toward the dining table. "Have a seat. I'll bring them out." He took off his hat and set it beside him. His hair was messy in a charming way, dark and thick. There was something grounded about him, like he belonged outdoors, in nature, building things from scratch. I poured 2 glasses of lemonade and set the warm cookies between us. As we sat, I asked his name. "Logan," he said. "Logan Pierce." "Elena," I said, offering my hand. He shook it, his touch firm yet warm. "So, Elena," he said after a bite. "How are you really?" It wasn't the kind of question you expect from a stranger, but it cracked something inside me. I blinked, unsure how to respond. "I guess a little lonely," I admitted. "But I'm fine. I keep busy." "You shouldn't have to feel alone in your own home." His words, so quietly spoken, lingered between us. "I know," I said. We kept talking. About small things.
His job. My attempt at gardening.
Our favorite childhood cartoons. The rain started gently tapping on the windows, like a soundtrack for the easy rhythm that had developed between us. I hadn't laughed like that in a while. The kind of laugh that comes from deep in the chest. Logan had a way of being present, really present, and it was disarming in the best way. "Thank you for the cookies," he said eventually, standing up. "And for the company." I walked him to the door. "Anytime." "Really?" He paused on the step, looking at me with something soft and unreadable in his eyes. "Elena." "Yes." He hesitated. Can I ask one more thing?" I felt my breath catch, but I nodded. "Go ahead." "Can I see you again?" Not as a delivery guy. Just as me. I swallowed hard. The question wasn't inappropriate. It wasn't demanding. It was real. And it made my heart pound because it had been so long since anyone asked how I felt, what I needed, or if I was happy. I looked at his eyes, sincere, a little vulnerable, and realized I needed this moment more than I could explain. "Yes," I said softly. "You can." Our meetings after that weren't dramatic or reckless. They were simple and quiet. Walks around the park. Coffee at a corner cafe. Conversations that went deeper each time. Logan never rushed anything. Never crossed a line. He respected that I was married, but also acknowledged something I hadn't had the courage to say aloud. I felt like I was disappearing in my own life. One night, it rained hard. Logan texted me, "Stay dry. But if you ever need someone to listen, I'm here." I didn't reply. But I didn't delete the message either. Jason called that night from Tokyo. He sounded distracted. Talked about meetings. Mentioned he might extend his trip.
He didn't ask how I was.
Didn't ask if I needed anything. I stared at the ceiling long after the call ended, wondering when we had stopped being each other's home. The next day, Logan knocked again. "No package. No delivery. I just wanted to make sure you were okay," he said. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside and let him in. We stood in the kitchen, the silence between us charged. "I'm not trying to complicate your life," he said quietly, "but I think about you. A lot." My heart thudded against my ribs. I stepped closer, close enough to see the raindrops on his shirt, close enough to smell the mix of rain and pine on his skin. "I think about you too," I whispered. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Tell me what you need, Elena." And I did. I needed someone to see me, to make me feel wanted. Not out of pity, not out of loneliness, but because I mattered. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to stop him. I didn't. His lips touched mine with a gentleness I hadn't felt in years. Not urgent, not rushed.
Just right.
The kiss deepened gradually, like a wave rolling into shore, and I wrapped my arms around him. I felt safe there.
Seen. Held.
But when we broke apart, I didn't feel guilty. I felt alive. We didn't rush anything beyond that. We just stood there, holding each other, saying everything through silence. Jason came back 2 days later. Things between us had shifted. He noticed the change, but didn't ask. I realized then how far apart we had grown. We talked, really talked, for the first time in months. I told him how I'd been feeling, how alone I had been. He listened, apologized, promised to try harder. But sometimes, love isn't lost in grand betrayals. Sometimes, it slips quietly out the back door while we're too busy to notice. Weeks passed. Logan didn't come by again. He respected the boundaries. But his absence echoed louder than I expected. I found myself standing on the porch one morning, holding a cookie tin. No delivery expected. No one in sight. Just hope. Then, from the street, I saw him walking. Same uniform. Same smile. "Still baking cookies?" he teased. "Still skipping lunch?" I shot back. We stood there for a long moment, and I made my choice, not out of impulse, not out of rebellion, but out of truth.
"Logan," I said.
"Would you like to stay for dinner tonight?" He looked at me, his eyes holding a mix of surprise and understanding. "I'd love to."